Forget exhausting cardio. These 5 wall exercises eliminate belly fat much faster and do not damage your joints. Before we get to the exercises, there's a concept that completely changes the way you should think about fat loss. Building muscle mass is not just about getting stronger. Every pound of muscle added to your body increases your resting calorie burn, meaning the number of calories you burn simply by existing without doing absolutely anything. Think of it like passive income in the investment world. Once you build that muscular foundation, it keeps working for you all day long while you sleep, work, or watch television. This becomes even more valuable after 50 years old, a phase when the body naturally loses muscle mass and the metabolism slows down, making weight management more difficult. That is why the exercises you are about to learn were not chosen only for the convenience of doing them at home, near a wall. They also help preserve and build that muscular foundation that works for you even when you are standing still, and that completely changes your long-term game. Now that you understand that, let us move on to the 5 wall exercises that will transform your routine. Exercise number 1, wall mountain climber. This exercise is a low-impact alternative to the traditional mountain climber done on the floor, and the difference is not just aesthetic. By working in a vertical position, you drastically reduce the load on your wrists and lower back, while maintaining the intense core activation that makes this movement so efficient for the abdominal region. Regular practitioners report improvements in abdominal muscular endurance and greater ease in maintaining correct posture during other daily activities. This movement primarily works the rectus abdominis and the oblique muscles, while also recruiting the hip flexors and, to a lesser degree, the shoulders and chest, which act as stabilizers while you maintain contact with the wall. To perform it correctly, stand facing the wall at about 1 arm's length away. Place both hands on the wall at shoulder height, with your arms slightly bent. Keep your body at a slight angle, as if you were about to do a wall push-up, and from that position, bring one knee towards your chest, then return your foot to the floor, and alternate with the other leg in a running in place rhythm. Keep your core engaged throughout the entire movement, preventing your hips from swaying side to side. An extra tip to maximize results is to slow down the pace during your first sets, focusing on feeling the abdominal contraction with each knee that rises, rather than simply chasing speed. Speed can come later once the movement pattern is well established. A common mistake is letting the hips rise too high, turning the movement into a simple alternating squat without the abdominal stabilization component that makes this exercise worthwhile. Another frequent mistake is placing the hands too low on the wall, which removes the necessary angle and reduces core activation. Start with 2 to 3 sets of 30 to 40 seconds, resting 30 seconds between them. As your endurance increases, progress to 45 to 60 seconds per set, always prioritizing movement quality over speed. This exercise is not recommended for people with acute shoulder or wrist injuries, since it requires supporting part of your body weight through your arms. People with uncontrolled blood pressure should also be cautious with the intensity, opting for a slower pace. Exercise number 2, wall march. If the previous exercise already brought a bit of intensity, this one is perfect for those who need a gentler option without losing efficiency. The wall march is practically impact-free and yet requires constant abdominal control to maintain balance, making it an excellent entry point for those who are starting to train their core after a long period of inactivity. This movement primarily activates the rectus abdominis and the oblique muscles, which are responsible for stabilizing the trunk while one leg moves freely. The hip flexors and the glutes of the standing leg also come into play to maintain balance. To perform it, press your back against the wall with your feet a short distance away from it, as if you were sitting very lightly in an invisible chair. Maintain an upright posture with relaxed shoulders and a lightly engaged core. From that position, raise one knee to hip height, as if you were marching, and lower it in a controlled manner before repeating with the other leg. The movement should be slow and controlled, without rushing. An extra tip is to try to keep your lower back in constant contact with the wall throughout the entire exercise. If you notice that your lower back pulls away from the wall when your leg rises, it is a sign that your core is not being recruited enough. And that is exactly what you need to correct in order to get the expected results in that region with more consistency over the weeks of training. A mistake I see many people make is rushing the movement and turning the march into a hasty kick. This reduces the time under tension for the core and considerably diminishes the effectiveness of the exercise. Another mistake is letting the trunk tilt to the side with each leg that rises, which indicates weakness in the oblique muscles. It is recommended to start with 2 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions per leg, gradually progressing to 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions as motor control and confidence and balance improve. This exercise tends to be safe even for beginners or people with joint limitations, but individuals with frequent dizziness or balance problems should perform it with additional support nearby, such as a chair beside them, for safety, avoiding falls during the exercise. As you gain confidence, you can progress by gradually moving your feet slightly farther from the wall, which increases the balance demand and further intensifies the core work during each repetition. Exercise number 3, wall-supported glute bridge. Here we enter an exercise that tends to surprise those who have never tried this variation. The gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in the human body, and 99% of people do not know that. Having this muscle well developed contributes significantly to your total calorie expenditure, since larger muscles require more energy to be maintained, even at rest. A frequently cited study in strength training literature shows that unilateral exercises, or those with greater range of motion for the glutes, tend to generate more muscle activation than traditional variations performed only on the floor. And the version with your feet elevated on the wall increases precisely that range of motion. This exercise intensely works the gluteus maximus, recruits the hamstrings, and requires strong core contraction to keep the pelvis stable throughout the entire movement, preventing lower back pain and improving pelvic stability during other daily activities such as walking and climbing stairs. To perform it, lie on your back on the floor near a wall and press the soles of your feet against it, with your knees forming an angle of approximately 90 degrees. Lift your hips toward the ceiling, strongly contracting your glutes at the top of the movement, and lower in a controlled manner without letting your hips fully touch the floor between repetitions. The beauty of this exercise lies in its ability to isolate the glutes in a way that few variations can achieve, precisely because of the angle provided by the wall. An extra tip is to hold the position for 1 to 2 seconds at the top of the movement, intensifying the contraction before lowering again. A common mistake is using the lower back to generate the upward movement instead of the glutes. You will know you are doing it correctly when you feel a clear burning sensation in the glute region and not in your lower back. Another mistake is positioning your feet too far from or too close to the wall, which reduces the efficiency of the contraction. Start with 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions, progressing to 3 sets of 18 to 20 repetitions as strength increases. People with a herniated disc in an acute phase or severe lower back pain should avoid this exercise without first consulting a healthcare professional, as should people with recent knee injuries who feel discomfort when pressing their feet against the wall with their knees bent. Exercise number 4, wall push-up. For those who do not yet have enough strength for a traditional push-up on the floor, or for those who have wrist and shoulder pain that prevents that execution, the wall push-up is the ideal entry point for developing strength progressively and safely. And do not be fooled into thinking it is a weak exercise, because it also recruits the core throughout the entire movement, contributing to your goal of strengthening the abdominal region. This movement primarily works the chest, shoulders, and triceps, while also requiring isometric contraction of the core to keep the body aligned. Scapular retraction during the movement is also important for protecting the shoulder joint, preventing it from becoming overloaded. To perform it, stand facing the wall at approximately 1 arm's length away. Place your palms on the wall at shoulder height, with your fingers pointing upward. Keep your body straight from head to heels, and slowly bend your elbows, bringing your chest toward the wall, before pushing back to the starting position. Remember that speed is not the goal here. An extra tip is to keep your elbows slightly angled downward, forming something close to 45 degrees in relation to your body, rather than flaring them out completely to the sides, which further protects the shoulder joint during the movement. A common mistake is letting the hips drop or push back during the push-up, losing body alignment and reducing core activation. Another frequent mistake is not completing the full range of motion, performing very short push-ups that limit chest muscle recruitment. When you include the wall push-up in your routine consistently, it becomes easier to progress in the future to incline variations and eventually to the traditional push-up on the floor. A simple way to progress before that is to gradually move your feet farther from the wall, which increases the angle of body inclination and demands more strength from the chest and shoulders with each repetition. Start with 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions, progressing to 3 sets of 18 to 20 repetitions as strength increases. People with acute shoulder injuries, a compromised rotator cuff, or intense wrist pain should avoid this exercise or adapt the hand position with professional guidance, reducing the range of motion until the joint is fully recovered and pain-free during the movement. Exercise number 5, wall sit. Closing our list, we have an isometric exercise that many people underestimate until they actually try it. That burning sensation in the legs after less than 1 minute tends to surprise even those who have been training for some time, and I confess that the first time I did it, I thought it would be too easy. It was not, and perhaps you will be surprised as well. This exercise intensely works the quadriceps, recruits the glutes, and requires constant core contraction to maintain stable posture throughout the entire time you hold the position. To perform it, press your back against the wall and slide down until your knees form an angle of approximately 90 degrees, as if you were sitting in an invisible chair. Keep your feet hip-width apart and aligned with your knees, preventing them from going past the line of your toes. Hold that position for the determined amount of time, breathing in a controlled manner. What many people do not know is that the exact position of your feet in relation to the wall directly influences which portion of the quadriceps receives more stimulation. Feet placed farther from the wall tend to increase the demand on the glutes, while feet placed closer concentrate more of the work on the quadriceps. An extra tip to make the exercise even more challenging without needing any equipment is to slightly raise your heels off the floor during the hold, increasing the demand on the quadriceps. Another way to adjust the intensity is to vary the depth of the squat by sliding slightly more or slightly less down the wall, always respecting the comfortable limit of your knees. A common mistake is letting the knees go past the line of your toes, which unnecessarily increases pressure on the joint. Another frequent mistake is holding your breath during the hold, which raises blood pressure unnecessarily and can cause dizziness, especially in those who are just starting out. Begin by holding the position for 20 to 30 seconds across 2 to 3 sets, with 30 to 45 seconds of rest between them. Progress by increasing the hold time to 45 to 60 seconds as muscular endurance improves. This exercise should be avoided by people with acute knee injuries, painful patellofemoral syndrome, or uncontrolled blood pressure, since isometric exercises can raise blood pressure more sharply during execution, potentially causing dizziness or discomfort in more sensitive individuals. Tip number 1. Increase your NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is the energy spent on activities that do not involve formal exercise, such as walking to the store, climbing stairs, cleaning the house, or simply standing while talking on the phone. Studies show that NEAT can represent an enormous variation in daily calorie expenditure between people with similar weight and routines, sometimes reaching several hundred calories of difference per day, a value that easily surpasses the expenditure of an entire training session. Small changes, such as parking farther away, standing up every hour of work, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator, when added up throughout the day, make a real difference in your body composition, often greater than you might imagine. Try to notice throughout the week how many moments you could replace sedentary behavior with movement, even small movement, and start applying these changes gradually. Tip number 2, optimize your vitamin D. Vitamin D is not only important for bones, it is also related to muscle function, the immune system, and even hormonal balance involved in body weight regulation. Low levels of this vitamin have been associated in observational research with greater difficulty in losing fat, lower muscle performance, and more fatigue throughout the day. Moderate sun exposure without sunscreen for about 15 to 20 minutes during times of lower ultraviolet intensity is usually sufficient for most people. In cases of deficiency confirmed by a blood test, supplementation may be recommended by a healthcare professional, but the first step is always to check your levels before making any assumptions. Avoiding supplementation without real need, since excess can also bring health risks. Tip number 3, prioritize protein intake. Protein is the macronutrient with the highest thermic effect, meaning your body spends more energy just to digest it compared to fats and carbohydrates. In addition, it increases satiety and helps preserve muscle mass during a caloric deficit, which is essential for keeping your resting calorie burn high. Timing is not as important as total daily amount, but it is essential to spread that amount throughout the day. If you concentrate all your protein in just 1 or 2 meals, your body will not be able to absorb and use everything correctly for muscle building. The ideal is to distribute protein intake across 3 to 5 meals, prioritizing lean sources such as chicken, fish, eggs, legumes, and low-fat dairy, always adapting to your preferences and financial possibilities. Tip number 4, watch out for liquid calories. Liquid calories are those that come from beverages such as sodas, processed fruit juices, alcoholic drinks, and even some heavily sweetened coffees. The problem is that these calories generate virtually no satiety, so it is very easy to consume a large amount of them without noticing and still feel hungry shortly after. A glass of orange juice, for example, can contain the equivalent of 3 or 4 whole oranges worth of sugar, without the fiber that would help control the speed of absorption. Practitioners who manage to reduce their consumption of liquid calories tend to notice a significant difference in body composition, even without drastically changing the rest of their diet. Always prefer water, unsweetened teas, or at most whole fruits, which provide fiber and greater satiety than any liquid and processed version. Tip number 5, include cruciferous vegetables and fiber in your diet. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts are part of the cruciferous vegetable family, known for their nutritional density and low caloric value. They are also rich in fiber, which increases satiety and helps regulate intestinal transit, a factor that directly influences the sensation of abdominal bloating. A diet rich in fiber is also associated with better blood sugar control, which reduces hunger spikes throughout the day. Try to include at least 1 serving of these vegetables in your main meals, combining them with other fiber sources such as oats, seeds, and legumes, creating an eating pattern that promotes both satiety and long-term gut health. And this directly reflects on how easily you can maintain a sustainable caloric deficit. If you enjoyed this and want to see other home exercises to strengthen your glutes and further increase your resting calorie burn, we have left a video appearing right now on the screen showing each of them in greater detail. Make sure to check it out. Before we wrap up, it is worth remembering, no wall exercise, no matter how efficient, will eliminate fat from a specific region on its own. The famous spot reduction does not exist the way many people imagine. What actually happens is that you create a general caloric deficit through the combination of exercise, nutrition, and daily habits. And your body decides, according to its own genetics, where to pull that fat from first. The good news is that these 5 exercises, combined with increased resting calorie burn and the habits we mentioned, create exactly the ideal environment for that fat loss to happen consistently, including in the abdominal region, without overloading your joints along the way. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and may God bless you, my friend.